Hello everybody, it's Dio from Firm But Fair Gaming, bringing you another video. Enjoying all the videos and content we produce, don't forget to click on that subscribe button, click on that like button, and don't be afraid to share. Don't forget to click on the notification button, customize it however you want, but that way you're notified whenever we publish another video. Hello everybody, welcome to another World of Warcraft video here in Dragonflight. We are going to be taking a look at the Arms Warrior. Previously this week we put out the Fury Warrior build, so let's take a look at the Arms Warrior. We're going to give you some gameplay for the spec trees, and as well as go over the rotations for both AoE and single target. So without further ado, let's take a look at the talents. Alright, let's take a look at the talent tree. Now, because it's going to be me just rambling away for a few minutes, let me throw up a dungeon video that I did. So this was just a heroic that didn't feel like doing a Mythic Plus. But you can kind of just see the build in action there while I talk about the talents. I'll just need to adjust the size so that it stops blocking everything. Alright. So starting on the warrior points, so we're just going into battle stance, and we are skipping defensive stance. We're not speccing into intervene or rallying cry. You can decide to do that if you want. It'll cost you a little bit of DPS, but at the moment I haven't done that. And then I have instead, we went down to the next tree. We took both fast footwork for some move speed, spell reflect because it's always great, and we got that 20% damage mitigation, and then we have leeching strikes. Into the next tree, this is going to give us the Froth and Berserker. So Mortl Strike and Cleave have a 20% chance to immediately refund 20% of the rage spent, and also we're going to gain 30-second cooldown on our heroic leap. And then Thunderclap. So this is going to just blast all enemies that are going to reduce their move speed, and deals so it itself deals reduced damage against targets beyond 5, but it also is going to apply Rend, which is nice for us. It's going to give us some extra damage there, as this is kind of a bleed build. By kind of I mean it is. That is nice. We're going to get to freely apply Rend to everybody when we Thunderclap. We're going to do that in a rotation once every 20 seconds. And then in the last one in this tree, or in this layer, I guess, we have Furious Blows, so our auto attack speed is increased by 5%, which will help us generate more rage. Pardon me. Excuse me. Moving down, we're going to grab Pain and Gains, so when we take damage, we're going to heal for 4.5% of our max health. This is going to occur once every 10 seconds. I personally spec into Stormbolt, just because I like having the individual stun, which will help me kick a target if my pummel is down. Alternatively, you could go into Intimidating Shout there if you really wanted to, which would give like an AoE interrupt if they are susceptible to fear. And then you don't have to worry about the fear because generally everybody's dealing damage. The fear pretty much breaks instantly. It's just a nice AoE interrupt. It works against the balls and Halls of Infusion. I believe that is where they have the X-Pulse. Or I could be thinking of the Azure Vault or whatever. One of those ones. I can't remember the name of it. Probably Azure Vault now that I think about it. But anyway, that one works there if you know what I mean. I'm getting off track, so just going to jump back over. So then we'll have Overwhelming Rage, where it's going to increase our max rage by 30. This is going to be handy for when we're doing our Bladestorming. We're going to get a ton of rage, and that'll help us rage down once we come out. And then we also are going into sidearm, so our auto attacks have a 20% chance to hurl weapons at your target and 3 other enemies in front of you, dealing additional, basically it's free AoE. Down into the next tier, we're going to increase our armor, going to Bounding Stride, so this is reducing our cooldown of heroic leap and give us some run speed. Also picking up Blood and Thunder, so this is what makes Thunderclap apply our Rend. So it's going to cost 10 more rage and deal 10% increased damage. And then it applies Rend to the 5 nearby targets. And then lastly in this one we have Barbaric Training. Slam and Whirlwind deal 30% more damage, but now costs 10 more rage. Into the next tier we have Honed Reflexes. So cooldown of Overpower and Pummel reduced by a second. And then we have a bit of a survivability here, bitter immunity. So we're going to restore 20% health and remove diseases, poisons, and curses. So that's just a nice to have. And then we have double time, so we have 2 charges. And then we're going to seismic reverberation. So if Whirlwind hits 3 or more enemies, it hits them 1 additional time for 30% more damage. Just some more AoE for us. And then we're going armor to the teeth, so we're going to get more strength, equal to 10% of our armor, which is handy from the reinforced plates. Get some haste here. And our auto attack critical strikes increase our auto attack speed by 20% for 10 seconds. 5% more damage while using the two-hander. And then we're going to go into Avatar, and I'm just going to go down below it. So it turns into a Colossus for 20 seconds. We deal 20% more damage and removes roots. And then below that, activating Avatar or Bladestorm casts the other at a reduced effectiveness. So we're going to get a free Bladestorm out of this. So we will want to have a cancel macro just in case you had for when you are doing single target. You won't want to spin needlessly during Bladestorm, so you want to cancel macro on that. And then also we're going into Thunderous Roar with both the Uproar and the Thunderous Words. So it's going to increase the bleed duration and the damage, as well as take 30 seconds off the cooldown. I know this is going to remove it off the synergy of being with our Avatar or Bladestorm and all that stuff, but that's fine. We want to get more uses out of it, and basically while we're spinning in Bladestorm or using Avatar and proc in Bladestorm, we can't use it anyways, and getting more uses out of it, getting that extra AoE damage is going to be incredibly handy to this build. Pardon. As we move over to take a look at the arms tree, I do want to call out, I guess, the damage numbers that I've been seeing in this build. So for AoE, I have seen, I had a peak of 140, but that was like a ridiculous quad pull. More often, I peaked around 110, but my sustained was around 90 to high 90s, so just under 100k. And that was based on double pulls. Now, for single target, we were between 25, 26k, and 30k. And then, of course, on AoE bosses, we were about 50 to 60k, depending on what they were. These numbers are still great, but I do want to just call out here that they are lower than Fury. So there is that, like in AoE on Fury, we see about 140 kind of sustain. I've capped out at 200, and then on our single target is pretty equal there to arms. But anyways, I just wanted to highlight that. Doesn't mean that arms isn't fun. Like, it does bring different utility, and it was actually fun to play. So without further ado, let's go down the arms tree here. So let's go down the arms tree. So of course we have our Mortl Strike. We're going to get Overpower. And we're going to take all 3 here. The martial powers, die by the sword, gives us a 100% chance to parry. Nice survivability if we need it. And then we have improved execute. So execute no longer has a cooldown. And if your foe survives, 10% of the rage is refunded. And then on the next tier, we have Blood Surge. So bleed effects have a chance to grant you 5 rage. Healed by violence, we are healed by 85% of the damage dealt by deep wounds. And sudden death, our attacks have a chance to make your next execute cost no rage and be usable on any target, regardless of their health, and deal damage as if you spent 40 rage. So that's nice there. And on the next tier, we have Tactician. So a 2.3% chance per rage spent on abilities to reset the remaining cooldown on Overpower. That'll help for when we're doing single target spam. We have Colossal Smash. So we're going to smash enemies and remove their armor and deal damage. Impale, the damage of our crits from our abilities, deal an additional 10% damage. Now we're going to move down, and then this is where we get Rend, which is going to be applied by our Thunderclap. Then we have Anger Management, so every 20 rage we spend reduces our cooldown on Warbreaker and Bladestorm. And then we have Sweepign Strikes, so it's going to basically give us an extra, so it's kind of like a mini Whirlwind buff. So 15 seconds, our single target attacks hit one additional target for 75% damage. And then we have Cleave, which is going to strike all enemies in front of us. And Cleave will consume our Overpower effect to deal increased damage, and it deals reduced damage against targets beyond 5. For the next row, we have Bloodborne, so Deep Wounds and Rend and Thunderous Roar. Bleed effects deal 15% more damage. We're going to have Dreadnought, so overpowers 2 charges and causes a seismic wave, dealing damage to all enemies within 10 yards in a line, so nice AoE. We are spec'd into in for the kills, so Warbreaker increases your haste, and by 10% or by 20% if the target is below 35%, and it lasts 10 seconds, so it'll give us a nice buff for the execute phase. And then we have Warbreaker, so it replaces Colossal Smash, and it smashes the ground and shatters the armor of all enemies around us. It increases our damage we deal to them by 30% for 10 seconds. Then we're going into Storm of Swords, so Whirlwind costs 30 more rage and has a 14-second cooldown, but now deals 175% more damage, which is a nice buff there. Remember, Whirlwind for arms doesn't give the buff where we get to attack, our next single target attacks hit all targets. That's a Fury thing. Then we have Reaping Swings, cooldown of Cleave reduced by 3 seconds, so we'll be able to spam that a lot more. Depth experience, so our mastery is increased by 2.2%. And Tactician chance to trigger increased by an additional 1%. And then just going to jump down, we are using Blood Lightning, so Deep Wounds, Rend, Thunderous Roars, bleed effects last 6 seconds longer, and have a 5% increased critical strike chance, which is good for the amount of bleeds that we have, because this is a bleed build. Extra damage there and duration. Valor and Victory, so we're going to increase our versatility, and it reduces our cooldown of Die by the Sword by 30 seconds, so it just gives us some additional survivability. Then we go into Bladestorm, which of course everyone knows we just spin and deal damage to everything around us. 1.5 minute cooldown, but we can reduce it based on above, where based on rage spent, we're going to reduce the cooldown. But then we're also spec'd into, while Bladestorming, basically every second we get 5% move speed and 5% strength, stacking up to 6 times and lasts for 6 seconds. And also Merciless Bone Grinder, so when Bladestorm ends, which is going to proc both off Avatar and off Bladestorm, we're going to get this buff where Whirlwind and Cleave deal 50% increased damage for 9 seconds, giving us a nice bonus to round out our AoE. Okay, so let's look at the build in action. I'm going to charge in, apply the smash. There's my Thunderous Roar Avatar combination. Now we're going to Thunderclap to get the bleed on everybody, followed up by Bladestorm, 70k, 75, and then Sweeping Strikes into our Cleave, proc, rotation, sustain. So there we go. Just cleaving, overpowering, Mortl Striking when it's available. Whirlwinding as it comes up. Now the Sweeping Strikes, and this is just basically, we're just rotating through our priority. Need the Thunder Stop because it's been 20 seconds. Cleave, Overpower, Mortl Strike, Execute, Cleave. It's basically, as the procs become available, just following that kind of priority sequence. And then there's our Thunderous Roar back up, and then because we spent enough Rage, we got Bladestorm back up, and that's basically it. Rinse and repeat. In another 30 seconds, we're going to have Avatar again, and then that would give proc another Bladestorm, and we're just sustaining with our Cleaves, our Overpowers, Mortl Strikes, and if we get an Execute proc, that of course would be our biggest one there, and then Warbreakering on CD, and here Avatar would be back up again. So at the end of that little sustain period of 1.5 minutes, we're still at 50k, just against 3 targets. So let's take a look at it in action. Just going to charge in, apply the Rend, Colossal Smash, and then our Avatar, and our Thunderous Roar, well, Thunderous Roar, Avatar, and then we go into our Bladestorm, and now just going to follow up with our priority rotation with Overpowers, Mortl Strikes. Use my trinket here. Executes, just basically going through that rotation here. We're currently at 31k on the open. Going to lose some there as I wanted to get rid of that in the bottom so I could actually see the damage output. Falling down to 28, 29k now. And this is basically all we're going to do is just sustain going through our priority rotation, relying on what procs we get, making sure to keep our Rend up for every 21 seconds, and then smashing as it's available. And then Bladestorming, Thunderous Roar, and all that fun stuff. So here we go into our Bladestorm again because we spent enough rage. We got it back. I've fallen off on the DPS just because I was a little distracted, unfortunately, as I was playing around on the side. But we're climbing back up. Anyhow, so that's basically all there is to it. It's within the range of, like I was saying, between 25 and 30k. We only have our battle show right now, and I don't have any sharpening stones on or anything like that, or obviously any party buffs. So once we're in a group setting, we're going to do much better. So this brings me to the end of the video. If you have any questions or comments about the build, or want to share your thoughts, or you have a variation of the build that you think might make this better, I am always open to feedback, discussion, and anything like that. This was the best build that I could come up with after testing over several hours in a few days. So I'm quite happy with it. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, we appreciate any like, shares, and subscribe, so please click those buttons. And of course, you can come find me on Twitch, stream almost daily, various Blizzard games, and right at the moment, of course, enjoying Dragonflight like I hope you are. So until next time, I hope you're enjoying this expansion and looking forward to next week when the raid and Mythic Plus and all that fun start. And of course, PvP kicks off. So until next time, hope you're enjoying World of Warcraft, Dragonflight, and hope to see you in the next video.